Insurance agents from around the world, welcome to the Insurance Guys podcast. My name is Scott Howell, your fearless host and leader, insurance agency owner and insurance evangelist for iProtect Insurance and Financial Services, based out of Huntsville, Alabama. And before we get started on today's episode, please help me welcome. He is a 6'3" sophomore from Mobile, Alabama. Parade first team All-American, Rivals 5-star recruit. He is a fantastic insurance agent and a great American. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together and welcome my friend, Mr. Bradley Flowers. How are you, Bradley?
I'm tired of talking.
Really? Bradley, it's time to head north, baby.
Yeah.
5.5 hours later, breaking news. We are expecting a possible snowstorm in North Alabama Friday. Today is Tuesday, which means no bread, no milk, no
toilet paper,
no gas, and none of that. Grocery store shelves emptied completely out by Thursday morning, and then it will either snow a 1/4 inch, which might cover your outside patio table like a millimeter, or it'll just rain. But then you're screwed at the grocery store for a day or two after that. Because let me say this, for all of our friends that listen to the podcast in the Northeast, our guest today lives up in the Englewood, New Jersey area. Our meteorologists in the South have zero idea on how to predict snow or ice. Like it is. Now, we can predict the shit out of a tornado or hurricane. But when it comes to snow, it's like spinning a roulette wheel for them to predict it. They have no clue. It might be 60 degrees and sunny Friday. They don't know. Guys, we got an all-star guest on the show for you today. Bradley, I'm about to head north. We're going to go back to iProtect Insurance tomorrow. We obviously got a lot to figure out when I get home, but appreciate you having me down this week. Enjoyed going to dinner with you last night.
Send me the recording of that sales meeting.
I'll do that. Guys, we got an all-star guest. I've got a juggernaut on the show today. Cannot wait to get in the boat with him for a minute. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to give him the introduction he's always deserved. He's originally from Queens, New York, and he currently resides in Englewood, New Jersey. He's married to the beautiful Sherry, and he's a graduate of Yeshiva University. He is a juggernaut, has done it all in the insurance industry. His list of accomplishments, he's been a consultant for Bold Penguin from December 19 to April 2020. Vice President and Consultant of Amtrust Financial Services. He has also worked with ClearLink Financial Services, their financial services and insurance division. He's been a CEO of iBynd since its founding in early 2020. And I'm proud to have him on the show today. First-time guest on the IGP. It is my profound honor to introduce our audience to none other than Mr. Phil Friedman. How are you, Phil?
I'm doing great. Thanks for that amazing intro. It was the intro that I've been waiting my whole life for.
Well, thank you for being on the show today. I know Bradley mentioned to me earlier you're friends with our good friend, Mr. Aaron Gordon. Any friend of his is a friend of mine. So just a prince of a human being. And I'm never a day. You know, there's not many weeks I don't think about Aaron Gordon. I don't get to talk to him very often.
He just opened his office in New Jersey today. I think they announced they opened it. So
okay,
is that right? Well,
yeah.
One of the reasons why you can't not think about him is that he does a great job of posting content on LinkedIn.
Right. He does.
That's right.
I cannot get on LinkedIn without seeing Aaron Gordon's face, which is a good thing.
You know, if I had something like really important I needed to make a decision on, I'm not sure he wouldn't be my go-to. Smart, going to give you good advice.
Mm-hmm.
Not going to have any kind of ulterior motive. He's just going to come right out with it.
He came to visit me a couple months ago. First time he's ever been to Alabama, and I picked him up at the airport in Pensacola.
Mm-hmm.
And we drove maybe 30 minutes in the car,
Mm-hmm.
and he said something. I don't remember exactly what he said, but I think it was something like, I haven't heard anybody blow the horn. I'm like, yeah, we don't do that down here. Like,
Yeah.
you blow the horn at somebody down here, you're liable to get shot.
You're in a fight. You're in a fist fight. That's right.
And so then
Somebody's getting out of a vehicle.
He says,
well, but, it's funny because the difference about here is that if you don't blow it, it's weird. It's like something's wrong.
Right, right.
Well, he's like, so we're in the South.
Mm-hmm.
He says, are we going to play with guns this weekend?
Did you let him?
Or this week? So I immediately slid open my center console and I said, yeah, grab that one right there. And he takes his sleeve and pulls his sleeve over his hand.
That's so funny.
As if to not put fingerprints on it. I was like, dude, you don't have to worry about that down here, man.
Yeah.
I don't even have to register it.
No,
You're
no.
good,
Are you kidding me? So I've got to ask Phil. I promise this is going to be my last thing. What was Aaron's overarching thought process about the South once he got down here? Because to me, he had always been like, what's it like down there, But after because Mobile's pretty good representation of it.
Yeah. I know one thing was he was surprised he didn't see a cow.
Well, I mean, you could have drove him 10 minutes outside of Mobile and seen a cow.
I think the people who have never been to the South have this image in their head of what the South is like.
Correct.
And it's really not like that.
Right. Yeah.
And even like the cliche like Alabama stuff, I tell people all the time, if you take the state of Alabama and you go barely below Huntsville, which is where Scott lives, and which is at the top of the state, and you draw a line, and then you go barely above Mobile, where I live, and you draw a line. Everything in the middle is the cliche Alabama stuff. We're the only two normal, know.
No, you're exactly.
But I think it was that. I think it was maybe a little bit more modern than he expected, but we really hadn't talked about it a ton.
Bradley, I have got to get him to fly to Huntsville.
Yeah.
Hire a full-time videographer and bring him to Pine Ridge. Yeah. It would blow his
Pine Ridge for Phil.
mind.
Pine Ridge has 49 residents.
79. Don't get it freaking mixed
up. Wow. I mean, they're going to overwhelm the census.
Man, I cut it by 50%. Yeah, somebody has a baby and they celebrate,
And you talk about cows and horses and guns and when you walk in my house, Phil, you're standing at the front door of my little Meemaw Pawpaw house, okay? If I blindfolded you, you could not see, and I stepped you, helped assist you into my front door. And you're blindfolded, you cannot see anything. You've never been in my house. Anywhere you go, if you're touching furniture and you open a drawer, there's a gun in the damn drawer. Anywhere you go in my house, every drawer has a gun in it. So anyway, Phil, we got a lot to talk about today. I want to go back in time. And before we get started, please do me a favor. I read your bio and I got to thinking about how brave you are. And you're like, Scott, what are you talking about? So you have this massive accident, which is a testimony that I've been saying for a long time. You can get hurt snow skiing bad. I've been saying this for years. My wife got hurt. Long story, I'm not going to get into that. But you have this accident. You call it in your bio catastrophic accident, which it was on a mountain at Snowbird in 2022. Here's the bravery part, Bradley. He has 3 surgeries, which there's all this stuff he had to have. 2 plates, 13 screws, cadaver bone graft. The bravery part of this, and this is what I wanted to touch on. You go back to Snowmass and you ski in 2024. Tell me the emotions and the thought process when you're putting your skis on that first time in 24.
So it's a really interesting story. So when I walk into the rentals, because I gave away everything I had. I left it all behind.
I'll never do
I
this
don't want any
again.
part of this.
Yeah.
I'm done. Other part of my life, not doing this anymore. Nearly died 2 times. I'm good. And I walk into the rental shop and I start talking to the tech behind there, and he seems like a guy who's a lot of time on the mountain. He's like, I've been there. I've had crazy accidents. Here's what you want to do. He opens up the map and he's like, I'm going to give you shorter skis. So you're going to ski shorter. You can ski slower. He's like, opens up the map. He goes, this is where you're going to go up. This lift you're going to go up. This is where you're going to start. He goes, okay. He goes, you're going to go down this little run here. and right at that bottom of the little run is the shack, and you're gonna go see Nick. And Nick makes the best Bloody Mary you could possibly have, and that's where you're gonna go.
Sure.
And like that instantly sort of like eased me up, and I'm like, okay, I can do this.
Right. Yeah.
I put my gear on, I get back, I get on the lift, I'm getting up there, and
Anxiety's starting to go up. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, like you get on a ski lift, and it's just way too much time in your own head.
And by the way, it's probably a little bit of some PTSD going on right there.
Oh, not more than a little.
Yeah.
And I get all the way up there, and I'm like, it's holy shit. Now what?
Yeah.
Last time I was up one of these, they, two paramedics had to take me down on a sled, and like I think I passed out from the pain. I mean, it was just incredibly awful. And just to catch everybody up at home, I destroyed my shoulder. I don't even really remember the accident, but I fractured my shoulder in about 25 pieces.
Did they have to med flight you to a trauma 1?
So they can't get a chopper into the bowl there.
Right.
So they had to take me down sled, and then they put me on a lift, and then a tram down to the bottom. By the time I got to the bottom of the tram, I was in shock.
Right.
It's a story I can tell with a smile now.
Sure.
But when I got into the urgent care there, they had me snort fentanyl.
Yeah.
Because it's the quickest way into your body, in a very legal way.
Sure.
Doctor prescribed, and then they gave it to me via IV, and then morphine and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But it was like battlefield trauma.
Right. 100%.
And that's really was. And then they took me via ambulance to Trauma 1 Center in Salt Lake City. And I got operated on there, and then back in New York about a month later, and then a year later after that.
Can I ask you a question real quick before you keep going? You get the first surgery in Salt Lake, which I'm sure the hospital there was fantastic. I'm sure it was great. But after that surgery, you probably did a little bit of rehab, like maybe for a few days. Were you able to fly home, or did you have to get like a rental car, or a family member, wife, somebody drive you back home?
No, so I flew home. So I was on a guys trip.
Sure.
And this was day 2 of a 4-day guys trip. So my
gosh.
Yeah.
Screwed up. Boy, talk about screwing up the old guys trip that year.
You know what? I screwed up one day for them because the rest of them went back and skied the rest of the days.
Right.
There's nothing they can do. And they called my wife, and my wife flew out. And what we ended up doing is that my wife, I had a coach ticket originally, and my wife flew out with a first class ticket on the way back. I sat in her seat. She sat in mine. I flew back. It's crazy that you bring this up, because the hospital wanted to discharge me the day of the surgery. My wife is like, we're not going anywhere. She's like, we don't live here.
Yeah.
She's like, we don't live here. I don't know what the hell to do with him.
Right.
I can't deal with this. We're not going anywhere until tomorrow when we're flying out.
Sure. Yeah. Unbelievable.
And that was nuts that they wanted to discharge me that day.
So to end the story, you go, I'm sure the guy that you met in 24 was like, probably put you on a green slope, a blue slope to go down, just kind of ease you back into it. Go down to the shop, get a Bloody Mary. After that, where your confidence level starts going back up, were you able to get on some more difficult slopes after that?
I did at the last day that I skied, but to be honest with you, I'll never go back to where I was before. Right. The juice just ain't worth the squeeze.
Sure.
But it was enough where I overcame